two break-even trades, and no real follow-through in either direction on the ES. Let's take a look at what happened. All right, guys, if we take a look here, ended up right on the day, essentially break even, though. You'll see here my last two trades are white. Here, the last 10 trades, but my last two trades are white. White is break even, reds are losses, greens are for profit. And so on the week, 4 losers, 2 winners. If we go ahead and take a look here at just today, though, right, 2 break even trades. Let's go ahead and take a look. First trade I took live in the live session. I put here late to the party, large drop and a decent pullback in the overnight. When price finally broke down and never pulled back enough for me to get in, I felt like I felt like getting in without a pullback was chasing, because I wasn't overly bearish on the market today. So I wasn't aggressively trying to get in, because I wasn't overly bearish today. And so, truth be told, any trade management would have resulted in a break-even trade on this trade, with where my entry was. If I would have been able to get in earlier, then it would have hit a target eventually. But where I got in, never would have come to target until after 3 p.m., which would have been 5 hours later. And so that's why I'm not a huge fan of when the market makes such a big move in the overnight without us. But again, even hitting target after 3 p.m., I would have been out break even after it broke down +1, and then had a huge pullback into what would have been negative territory for me before finally hitting target 5 hours later. So any real trade management in this would have yielded in a break even trade. Let's go ahead and take a quick look. This is where we opened. In one of these 2 candles, we had a large move down in the overnight and had a pullback to the open to a supply level that I did have here, a support and resistance level that I did have marked out up here. But I was expecting price to maybe test a little bit higher before breaking down. When it did break down, when it like broke down in this candle, I was trying to get in up here. When it broke down further, I was trying to get in up here. When it broke down, it just kept on breaking down without me, not really giving me any pullbacks. I was finally able to get in after this pullback, and this candle broke down. I got in on the pullback here in this green candle, and then we spent the next about 30 or 40 minutes sideways, in which case I closed it down 3 points, essentially break even. When we had this huge buying candle here, I started to get nervous. It also had quite a bit of volume in that candle, and that volume is what freaked me out. When I saw that volume there, price did drop from this high here and did start to come down from there, but I lost $75 in this trade. Nothing that I'm necessarily gonna cry or whine about. This is the same trade on the 5-minute. Again, trying to wait for a pullback. Right, when this candle broke down, I was trying to get in a pullback at the lows of this 5-minute candle, but price just kept on dropping, and then went sideways. And you'll see here, this is the same. This is the 2-minute candle on the 5-minute that gave a strong push down, and I closed when it basically like broke this high here, with a lot of volume. We take a look at the internals during that time, or no, this is still the same trade on the 2-minute. But you'll see that after I got out, price came down, would have hit 1-to-1, but never would have hit target, and it finally did pull back. It wouldn't have stopped me out, but it did pull back somewhere in these mid-40s, mid-42 40s, before finally coming back down. So after this 1-to-1 and these pullbacks, I for sure would have gotten out break even, breaking above here. In fact, this was my next trade, trying to get long, starting literally right here on this candle, trying to get long there. Let's take a look at the internals while I was in this trade. This is where I got in. Price broke down at the open on the advanced decline, opened up in extreme negative territory, continued to drop. We got this little pullback when I got in. The tick chart wasn't necessarily in my favor at all. It was trending basically upwards, created a new high. Then this was the breakdown, and I got in on the pullback in one of these two green candles here, and then it made a new high. Of course, I didn't get out until probably basically this spike here, because price then finally did come down, and this is where it came down from. So this spike is essentially when I got out, or this is the spike that scared me, pulled back, and scared me that it was going to come higher, and so I closed it out. The dollar, for me to be short, the dollar needs to go long, and it did. But price didn't move. Price chopped around in that range. What was moving was the NQ and the Russell. And so, even though the dollar was in my favor here, didn't get any help. And then, same thing here. Price chopped around on the VIX. Was going up to drop price originally. And I was able to get in, but then price chopped around before the VIX finally continued up, and that's I got out around here, and that's where it continued without me. And then if we take a look at the 4 major indexes, this is where I got in here on the ES. Price broke down. There's a 15-minute chart. Price broke down, and I got in near these lows, but chopped around for these 3 or 4 15-minute candles before breaking down. But again, never would have hit target until this spike down at about 3 p.m. And so this pullback, remember, I got in the middle of this range here of these few candles. This pullback, I would not have been stopped out because my stop was above this 15-minute candle, so I wouldn't have been stopped out in my original trade, but I for sure would have gotten out break even after this push down. So no real management in this trade would have yielded anything worth anything more than just essentially a break-even trade. And so let's go to the next trade, another break-even trade. This was a long. This was a trap traders breakout. Tried multiple times to get in at a better entry. Kind of the same thing happened to me in this trade to the long side that happened to me in the earlier trade, where price never gave me a micro pullback to get in. Tried to get in on a better entry before the breakout, but never got the micro pullback for the entry, and had to get in after the breakout of the high. I was still able to get in on a pullback, but I was very late compared to where I originally wanted to get in. A better entry would have yielded 1-to-1, but would not have hit target. Regardless, I closed it break even because the daily trend was down, and I was not going to fight that trend, and you'll see here what I mean. And so you'll see here price finally started to reverse back up after my original trade. Short, got closed it early, broke down, retested the low, broke back up, and when that candle closed like that, on this next retest of this low, I wanted to get in long. And so that candle closed, I set the order, left without me. This candle closed, set the order, left without me. Finally, when this candle broke out and closed up here, I was able to get in on the pullback on this red candle, and it did push up right after that. But we were in these highs here. I had the VWAP that it reacted off of, broke again. I thought this might be the move. Now that it had broken these highs here to the left, but price quickly rejected back down, tried to make a new high there, rejected down, and then started to break down on this rollover. I was like, nope, our trend is most certainly down today. And so I closed it out break even here. And I did let this spike down. I wanted to see a bearish candle close, so I didn't close it on this one as it closed bullish here thinking that maybe, okay, last ditch attempt before we go long. But when that candle started to break down like that, tested, broke above and broke back down, I closed it. This is the same trade on a 5-minute. Again, you'll see that I got in up here with on this blue arrow, but I was dragging my entry up constantly, trying to keep my stop below this pivot, and then finally I had my stop below this pivot here. But originally, trying to get in down here, I was trying to have my stop below this pivot, had to move it up, very late, never gave me any opportunities to get in. Now, in the live session, I talked about not wanting to be long, like I would need to see the internals reverse entirely for me to want to be long, and they did, right? We have the advanced decline, was very bearish this morning, but then finally broke up, pulled back, broke up again, retested here and broke up, and this is where I got in. So the advanced decline had rolled over. It had even rolled over here on the NQ. Tick chart, same thing, made new highs here, and I was able to get in on that pullback. But then we started to roll back over, and it didn't sustain any momentum here on the tick chart to the upside. And so this is why I started to get out as well. The dollar for me to be going long, I needed the dollar to be going down. And the dollar, right, had been going up while the market had been going down, but then reversed, tested, reversed, and I got in during this pullback here. The dollar did go in my favor. It continued to go down while I was in this trade, but then stopped making new lows and then started making new highs again. And so another reason why I closed the trade, because the higher time frame on the dollar was certainly up. And then the indexes, other reason for me to get long. This is where I got long in this large green candle on the pullback of this green candle. And it's the same candle here on the Russell that finally broke that pivot. It was this candle here on the Dow, which broke this pivot, and it was this candle here on the NQ, and so it wasn't a terrible candle to get in on. Just didn't work out. Higher time frame trend was down, price stayed down, and I don't know if you guys remember me saying in the live session, I talked about that wide-ranging daily candles tend to close at the highs or the lows, and today was most certainly a day that it wanted to close near the lows. It wasn't a terribly large, wide-ranging daily candle, but it did reach the daily ATR, and it did close very much near the lows, and so I was not going to fight trying to go long, knowing that we were in some supply here, a drop-based drop that it came into, and if it got rejected off of there, it could come and make new lows, which it did. And so that was it. Those were my two trades. Two break-evens. I was down, I lost 75 in the first one, $6 in the second one, so down 81.25 on the day. Not a good day, but nothing that I can't recover from. So with that, we will call it a video. Thank you guys for joining us. Remember, 9 a.m. Have a great weekend, by the way. 9 a.m. Pre-market analysis. 9:25 we go live. And hopefully we'll have some additional videos for you guys soon on our trading styles and on the platform and whatnot. So thank you guys again. And we will see you guys next week. Take care.